2023 Wells County Council meeting. I want to welcome our two new councilmen, Councilman Lambert and Councilman Harnish. Welcome, guys. And as is what we normally would do, we're going to have the pledge and prayer, and then we'll get started. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you bow with me. Heavenly Father, thank you for another year, and thank you for allowing us to meet tonight and conduct business here in the county. Just pray for our meeting. You give us wisdom and discernment in all our decisions. Just be with those who protect us each and every day in our local community. We think of the Sheriff's Department, the Police Department, and the first responders that are out there taking care of us. We ask you continue to be with the Highway Department as they go out and do their duties, sometimes in terrible weather, and just pray that you'll keep them safe as well. And just be here with us tonight as we conduct the business of the county. And we ask all this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, first order of business for the new year is our reorganization of the board, where we nominate officers. And so first officer for nomination is the president of the board. And I'm going to take this opportunity to nominate Seth Wicker for the president of the board.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Seth, come and take the president's seat. I'm moving. Congratulations.
All right. Well, thank you, Steve. All right, this is a little strange. First off, Steve, I do want to thank you for your leadership the last 2 years as president. The things that we had to deal through, the jail upgrades that were much needed, and then also the beginning of a highway garage that was, if not, I don't say a decade in planning, it was several years in planning. And thank you. I had a lot of big shoes to fill here, so I appreciate it.
Thank you.
So the next reorganization is for vice president. And I would like to nominate Vicki Andrews as vice president.
I'd like to second that motion.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. So the reorganization part of the meeting is complete. Did everybody receive the minutes from our meeting in December, including the newer folks?
Yeah, I got those.
Okay. Any questions over the meeting notes? If not, can I have a motion to approve the meeting notes?
I'll make that motion.
Okay. Do I have a second? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the meeting notes are passed. All right, so the appointments, first off, Sheriff Holliday, we'll have you present your report.
I'll just have you read them off. My lovely assistant will give you jail numbers because I left the sticky note in my car, but I just had this meeting 2 hours ago, so I think it's 71 total.
71 total, 26 circuit, 24 superior, 15 F6, and 0 DOC.
And as I stated in the commissioners meeting, I don't think I've ever presented 0 DOC, but we made
Yeah.
2 trips over the last couple of weeks. I think we got 13 DOC sentenced out of our jail, which really helped limit our numbers. We had a pretty mild New Year's as far as arrests. I think everything went fairly smooth there. I think we're still recovering from the bad weather weekend that we had. So also in the commissioners meeting, big shout out to law enforcement, our deputies, the city, county highway did a tremendous job of helping us out in the things that we had to do. Our guys really busted their butts out there, dealing with a lot of people, a lot of slide-offs. So for what it was, it could have been a lot worse. Had we gotten more snow, those conditions would have really put a damper on a lot of things had we got more snow. So I think that was the only plus there. So But again, I'm not complaining to have 71 in jail. That's pretty good right now, so. First, I'd like to just start out our thoughts and prayers to the Muncie family. We attended and helped lay Brooks Muncie, former sheriff, to rest over the weekend, so that was well attended. Brooks was the sheriff when I got hired. Actually, I started 6 days after he retired, but I was a reserve under him, and he was there during my hiring process. I just didn't start until after the first of the year that year, so I remember Brooks from a long time ago, big loss, great man, so thoughts and prayers to his family. I have several things here in front of you. One is the monthly report activity for December. Nothing out of the ordinary. You can kind of look at that at your leisure. Behind that is the monthly income generated for 2022. Not far off from 2021. If you look over to the far right at the bottom, this time last year we brought in revenues of $407,000, and in 2022 we brought in revenues of $403,000. So right on check with what we normally do. So
Sheriff, is the gun permits, is that a twice a year or?
well, it has been a once a year fee that we've received. I think that December payment was for 2023, because you see 2 on there. We did recently at our recent sheriff's conference asked if we were going to continue to get this every year, and no one would give us a concrete answer. So we're not banking on the fact that we did. I just don't believe I put anything in gun fees for the budget. This year, we're still sitting okay. You'll see later on with my commissary reporting, we're sitting very well with commissary funds. We are in the process of switching over our firearms. They're trying to get new ones. There's a lot involved in that, and just guns. We have backup duty weapons, we have holsters, a lot of things that go along with those. So we are supplementing that with commissary funds down the road. So
You guys change calibers or stay the same?
we actually are. We're going from 45 to 9 millimeter, so. A lot less expensive ammo. 20 years ago, we would have said no, but in today's world, the way they make ammo today ballistically is as effective with a 45 than it is a 9 millimeter. If anybody's familiar with the guns, 9 millimeters are a lot smaller. So unless you have big hands like me, a 45 is pretty hard to hold for some people. So that'll be a plus for us as well. And the ammo capacity per gun is we can hold more ammo in those guns than what you can in a 45. So a lot of agencies are switching over to 9 millimeters. Then it's broken down. It shows you the yearly report. There's also another single sheet that I gave you that does a comparison. We do this throughout the year. We kind of keep track of it until the end of the year. Usually what I report to you guys on a monthly basis is put in there January through December, and you can kind of see the totals compared to 2021. As you can see, our dispatch calls were up almost 10%. Felony and misdemeanor arrests were down about 12%. And you can kind of go through there. There's nothing major out of the ordinary that was plus or minus. The biggest thing would be accidents. We were down about 10% on the number, 10% on the number of warrants that we serve, not accidents. Accidents actually were up 20%. So that's the largest number compared to last year. And throughout the years, at least the last couple of years with COVID and the way we've done things, it's kind of hard to compare years to years. I would say probably 21 and 22 are pretty similar as far as what we've been doing, with a few exceptions. So,
Those look like your traffic stops, though, were up almost 50%.
yeah, and part of that is because we've been fully staffed for.
Okay. But you're not giving out really any more tickets, which is,
Nope. But obviously, just behavior modification sometimes
Sure.
can help, so, yep. The next one is the commissary reporting statutorily. For the new guys, I'm required to report commissary funds and expenditures twice a year. January and July. So that is put on the agenda for tonight is my commissary reporting. It lists everything from July to the end of the year as far as what we bring in through revenue and also what we spend out of commissary. Statutorily, there's 7 different categories that we can spend commissary funds out of. That 7th category is if it doesn't fit the first 6, I come before council and ask for permission. I've only done that once, and that was, I think, to do department photos a year or so ago. Just to give you a heads up, I am probably going to present an ordinance for the commissary fund at the next meeting. A lot of agencies are doing this. This will help kind of dictate certain expenditures of what we can use commissary funds for that may not particularly meet the 6 statutory, but fit within the 7. And if we can blanketly approve through the ordinance, that gives discretion. I'd still do reporting. You'd still see it on the reporting biannually of what is spent on there. So just to give you a heads up, we'll be presenting that. I'm going to work with Colin Andrews to kind of draft that up. I got one from another county, it won't be too hard to put together, and that'll be coming your guys' way for review, so.
So I have a question.
Yep.
So books for inmates,
Yep.
you do have some that you buy. Is there a certain type of book that you allow or don't allow for inmates, and can you take donations from the public for something like
Yep,
that?
we actually do take a lot of donations for books.
Okay,
If a family member wants to buy a book for somebody that's an inmate, we have restrictions. It has to come from a publisher, just to help with trafficking and those type of things. They can purchase them a book, have it shipped to the jail for the inmate and those type of things, so.
can someone donate used books?
Yep, we get them all the time.
You get them all the time, okay.
Yep, the library usually donates some. We get them from different churches, Christian organizations will donate Bibles and those type of things for the inmates, so, yep. Yeah, and we were going through them during COVID because once they got them through quarantine, and a lot of them were old, we were trying to kind of shuffle through and not trying to reuse books through inmates, so. But yeah, we've been pretty good on what we've been getting there, so.
So if somebody wanted to donate, just bring it out?
Yeah, they would contact my jail commander, and she would be able to tell you. Just depends on what you have to donate. We try to stay away from hardback books as well, be used as weapons or,
Yeah.
trust me, there's all kinds of things, unfortunately, that things can be used for. So, through history, we kind of know those things, so a call to my jail commander would be great first to kind of say, hey, here's what I got. Are you guys interested in them, or is there a need for them? So, yep. So most of the commissary on occasion, we do stuff like when our lobby's done through a renovation, we're going to purchase furniture for the jail, for the lobby. That stuff will come out of commissary. So there's a handful of things we got kind of lined up that I don't ask for in the budget because I know we can use commissary funds for to help supplement those funds. So if you got any questions on those.
Yeah, I have a question. It looks like you're averaging $15,000 to $20,000 a month, maybe sometimes a little less, sometimes a lot less on commissary, but the bank balance is significantly higher than that. Is that a commissary balance, or is that a fund that where those expenditures can
So
be
these
used on
fees
other
are,
items?
yeah, so to help you out, these commissary fees are generated by sales of things to the inmate or through revenue generating streams, like we offer texting devices to the inmates that they can use. And there's a revenue that we get from that because it costs them for the use. Video visitation, off-site video visitation is another one we charge for, so they don't have to come to the jail for visitation. We get revenues through that. So everything is put into a commissary fund statutorily, and then the statute dictates what we can spend that out of.
Okay,
Now, when I
so-
became sheriff, to speak, yes, the reason why it's got a balance of $156,000, when I became sheriff 4 years ago, there was a balance of about, if I remember right, somewhere in the $80,000 to $90,000 range.
And that just has to stay in that fund?
Yes,
That money, okay.
yep, and it has to statutorily meet a certain requirement for us to spend it. Usually it's things related to the jail, to things that help rehabilitate inmates, those type of things. And you'll be able to see once, next month, when I bring an ordinance forth on that, you'll be able to see those categories. But it is in statute what we can spend it on, and that's why,
Those 7 categories you referred to
Yep.
earlier, okay.
yep. And then through that again, just for transparency, the law states that I have to report twice a month what I spend out of there, so.
So I'm assuming right here where it says the code, that's giving you your 7 different categories?
That is a check number. Oh,
No,
code
what
there,
code
yes,
is
yes,
that?
yes, yeah.
You've got them coded.
Yep,
different.
she puts in there which code,
I never under, yeah.
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 yeah, because statutorily, it's required for us to state which code statutorily we spend it out of. Yep.
That makes sense.
So, we used to do e-cigarettes to the inmates. When I started, you used to be able to smoke in the jail. Then they did away with that. They went to e-cigarettes. We did away with that because it created a lot of discipline problems with the inmates of tampering with them and doing things with them. And so now we do nicotine pouches, which is an alternative, and actually, those do a lot better than e-cigarettes ever did. So, so through that, through texting, through video visitation, through inmate phone calls, those are the biggest revenue generators that go back into commissary. So, any other questions?
The Stellar Commission.
Stellar Commission, they are they run our commissary. We used to run our own commissary, but a lot of vendors do the commissary. So when an inmate wants to order something, they either get on the phone or a kiosk, they order what they want because they have money on their books. And Stellar ships all that prepackaged to them. And we set the price on it based on, a contract between us and Stellar. So we obviously get a profit from the sale of the commissary items. It could be food, it could be additional clothing, those type of things, so. But we do not charge them for toilet paper. I do know counties that do that, and I would not do that, so. Lastly, is our canine reporting. I usually try to give this to everyone once a year. AJ Campbell is our canine officer. He presented this to me this morning to kind of get you to see what our canine has done over the 2022 year. He's had a total of 116 call-outs or deployments, 8 call-outs, which means he was not working at the time. A lot of training goes into having a dog, and I'm not going to run through them all, but you can kind of see some of the highlights and numbers of what he did. Some of his accolades, for the 3rd straight year, he was voted Reader's Choice Best Police Officer for the 3rd straight year through the banner, so that's always a good thing. And then you can see a couple of different cases in there of apprehensions of people and those type of things. Canine Leo and a canine, I think, is very important to an agency. I know Bluffton just lost theirs. Our thoughts go out to them. That's a lot of time and money and effort, and they are a police officer. So it's sad to see that. Just to let you guys know, I am getting a second canine dog. We have been working on that for about the last 6 months. We're just waiting on training to come available before we purchase a dog. We're going to use commissary funds again to help benefit that. So once they get a class, we will go ahead and purchase our dog. Leo is getting towards the end of his time. Typically, a dog can go about 7 to 9 years in that range. 9 would be kind of pushing it. Leo's right at 6 or 7, so we're kind of getting there. So hopefully we do our training through Fort Wayne. They were going to have one this fall, and we were geared up and ready to do it. They canceled the class. Looks like they're going to hold one in the spring. So probably the early part of this year, we're going to be looking for a dog for purchase. We don't want to purchase one too early and then not have training available to send the dog to. So, but yeah, it's very important to our agency, not only from a law enforcement standpoint, but from a public relations standpoint. Obviously, he's voted 3 years in a row. He's pretty popular amongst the community and through our Facebook page. So we're looking forward to it.
So you guys only ever have one at a time?
We have one canine for our agency. Bluffton had one, and there is a state trooper that has one in our area. So there's
The new
only,
one will be coming in to replace.
well, the new one will be coming in as a second one, but Leo may last another year or two.
Okay.
We're not sure. But we'll have 2 for a period of time. My goal is if Leo's done whether it be Sergeant Campbell or somebody else, if they want to continue on with a new dog, because it is a big commitment to start with another dog, then our goal is to hold 2.
Okay.
Okay.
Other than that, I don't have anything else unless anybody has any questions.
Just a quick, if you want to make some updates or comments,
Oh, yeah.
Sheriff, on the 911. Now we've gone through the first year of the combination of services with Bluffton and,
Yep, our last meeting, as far as our combined dispatch with the Bluffton 911 Center, it's been a long road, for one. But we finally have the contract. I think we have our first meeting this month, which will be our first official public
right?
meeting now that the board will be formed. I think it'll be formed during that meeting as far as positions like you guys did today. And we'll be moving forward with that. And then obviously the county will be dealing with the funding part of that. I think it's been a great asset to the community to have our dispatch combined with the 911 center instead of duplicating things and transferring calls between agencies and those type of things. So I know they're finally seeing some progress at the 911 center, and what I mean there was staffing. They were down and very short on staffing. I know they're building that back up. I can't remember what he said. They're back up almost to full staff, but not completely trained and on their own yet.
Right.
But in a position to start adding more positions per the contract for staffing there. So I think they're doing really good. It's been very beneficial to us, so looking
Great.
forward to the first meeting at the year. And then lastly, I thought you were going to ask me about the jail update, but yeah, we're getting real close. It's just, we're final stages of just tightening everything up. The goal is still on track to finish up the jail renovation by the end of this month. I know a few people have been out to look at it. So hold tight if you want. We're real close, and when it's done, come out and look at it. Had a few commissioners come out and look at it, and everything's coming together. Just with the exception of one project, which was our kitchen delivery doors, that'll be after January, and that's a supply issue with jail doors and those type of things. But lobby's about 3/4 of the way done, and Corson was out there. They're the fire people. So all the fire damper stuff that we had to go through, they're out there today testing, balancing, getting all that hooked up into the main system. We've been into our new intake area. I think I reported that maybe the last time I was here, but we finally moved into our new intake area. That's been a blessing for us and what we do. And they're working on the conference and evidence room right now, finishing that off, which was our old garage, which was where we ran our booking area for the last year. So our staff is very glad and happy to be out of the garage for booking. So, but, yep.
All right.
No
any
more
other questions for the
surprises.
Sheriff? All right.
All right,
Thanks,
thank you
Sheriff.
very much.
Yep. Sean, you want to come up?
Good evening, everybody. Congratulations
Good
on your
evening.
new positions there.
Thank you.
I guess I'll start with, we went through a snowstorm since our last discussion, and it kind of proved what I'm talking about a little bit. We did have a couple incidences with the newer drivers. I had 2 out of 4 of them cause issues. One ended up taking out a power pole, power lines on the truck. Another one was in a ditch twice. I mean, these are new guys that need to learn, and what we're trying to do here is not have an entire team of them. So I guess with that being said, everybody knows where we left off at last meeting. I didn't bring the paperwork again. I kind of was expecting maybe you guys would have the numbers I shot out, but I didn't know if they were still there. But I am open to what you guys had to say. You've had some time to think about it, and
So the problem we're trying to solve is retention of existing talent and attracting new talent.
yes.
That goes for all responsibilities at the highway department, not just driver, not just operator, not just mechanic, everyone.
The only difference we have in positions now would be highway employee, mechanic, and foreman. Those are the only three classifications we have. And our 30-year veteran of being a grader operator and having that knowledge versus one of these new drivers that had the incident over the weekend make the same amount of money. So I was trying to diversify that money to where it's given to the person with more experience, and that's done with longevity and job classification separation.
So on the proposed rate, we're looking at a proposed longevity bonus and a proposed rate. Is there a reason why the proposed rates aren't all just the same, and then that longevity bonus would accomplish
The numbers-
the retention?
The numbers you're looking at are equal to what Huntington County has adapted, and that's where we lost our last employee, well, our second to last employee. We lost a retiree today, but
And who just retired?
Barry Penrod,
And who,
What number?
yeah.
You don't have it in front of you.
he was number 9.
Fine. Oh, it says it right there, okay.
He was 75 years old, or is 75 years old.
And you knew that was coming, right?
Yes, he gave us advanced warning several months ago. Yeah.
Did you get a chance, Sean? I know we've talked about Huntington and where they're at, but it sounded like that Jay, Blackford, Adams were also more where we're at. Did you get a chance to get a feel? I know I had, or Lisa said she checked with Adams, and they're going to do something. They're going to wait till the end of this budget cycle to do it. They're not going to do it early, but they are looking to see what they're going to be doing. Do you know about Blackford and Jay? You know, I hate to chase just one county and say we're competing against one county only.
This is not necessarily about counties. We
Okay.
are a logistics community, so we have a lot of CDL jobs that are available in our community that Jay and Grant and Adams don't have. We are close to the southern part of Fort Wayne, which is a huge trucking industry around Ardmore Road. We're in a different situation than the other counties you mentioned. So it's a little more crucial to us than it is those counties. And there are here's some local companies that are hiring in their wages.
This doesn't talk about vacation time and other benefits and health insurance and the types of things that the county offers.
No, but a lot of them do. If I spend more time to research it, I can prove that. I mean, you can look for yourselves and see what that is. But I also have to manage a highway barn, a new facility. I got employees that constantly have issues or problems that I take care of. So I don't want to invest 100% of my time into this and waste a bunch of paper giving it to you. The information's there. You're welcome to go look at it yourselves and see it. I just don't want to devote all that time to try to do what's right. I have several other tasks to handle.
We've opened up communication with other counties to get a list of what because they're doing some research as well as far as what benefits they're offering county to county or elsewhere. So we want to see kind of how we rank as far as the benefit package that the county has. But we also just want to know how deep do we want to dig? You know, if we want to keep digging into the details. If it's just a number, certainly I think based on what we're seeing here, we're not trying to meet the private sector hourly rates by any means, but we have to realize that there is opportunities out there based on what we're seeing here.
Yeah, I mean, I do want to dig. I think that's something we need to at least explore. What kind of insurance are they offering?
You'll find a lot of it's better than ours. 401ks instead of PERF, of course, because they're not public. This isn't public retirement funds. But for me to gather all that information and give it to you on a monthly basis, I feel that I have a little bit more important things to take care of than to just constantly do this. I'm just giving you warning here that we're going to be in a world of hurt in the future if we don't do something.
What's the current starting pay for a new hire?
For us,
Yeah.
this year is
Maintenance worker, your low level, I guess.
this year is $22.29.
Okay. And what would be the proposed rate? What do you want to bump it up to?
$24.50.
And that 2450 is for a CDL driver.
Every employee we have is a CDL driver.
Every employee has a CDL, okay.
Something we've proposed is to create additional job tiers. It's been something that's been well-received, it's just not something that's ever made it into the salary ordinance, is to create some of that hierarchy. That way we can either reward senior employees with more responsibility and higher salary, but if you're gonna give them responsibility, we've gotta have some sort of a carrot to offer.
And that's basically what you started to do at budget time, right, Sean?
Yes.
And then you dissolved that idea, because the numbers weren't working right.
Well, yeah, the 11th hour, I figured, or I learned that
Changed, and we
Right.
went back to your hourly,
we were forced to, yes.
So, I mean, as far as the hierarchy goes, we're achieving that to some extent with the longevity pay.
Correct.
And
Essentially creating a de facto hierarchy by trying to deal with longevity. It allows it to be a little simpler, because you're expecting additional services out of your senior employees.
well, so I guess one question would be, in the event, I mean, if you have a 30-year-old employee, or excuse me, an employee with 30 years seniority, I mean, you don't want to get into a situation where he is permitted to, he's going to make more money than the low guy on the totem pole, but the low guy on the totem pole is going to do the dirty job. I mean, are we staring at a situation like that?
Is what's great about this highway department is I've never seen it anywhere else. They all help each other. Whenever it's needed, they all pitch in, they all join, they all take care of the task. But if you give the person that is the older person that doesn't have, or that has the experience and doesn't, the person that has the experience doesn't feel appreciated the same way because they're teaching this young employee everything that they know, and the young employee is on the same pay scale as they are.
My concern is that, we're creating a system, and that system has to function even if we don't have great employees. So right now, sounds like we have a good culture, people help each other.
I don't want to lose them.
Yeah, right. But if we create a system that would enable a person with seniority to simultaneously make more money and do the easiest job, that concerns me.
That's where
Well-
Sean steps in as
Yeah,
essentially your.
that's supervisory
That's the tools
issues,
that he
yeah.
needs to have to reward the employees with seniority, with responsibilities, and the foremen that are under him. So,
One quick question I have. If you, say we went with longevity, or we went with a, upper scale on a year, what if you still can't keep employees? Then what's it gonna be? What are you gonna work for then? If that doesn't do the job, because there's people out there all the time taking your employees because they need CDL drivers. I mean, let's just be honest. CDL is a big deal right now. So what happens if you do this, longevity, you give a nice raise, and then you still cannot keep your employees? What are you going to come with us and
If we
try to
can't,
do?
if we can't retain CDL employees and the private market does take them all, we're gonna have to reduce the size of our trucks, increase the amount of our fleet, and hire more employees to drive smaller trucks to cover the same area that we do with larger trucks. So if the CDL market completely rules us out, that's gonna be about our only option. So we're gonna have small trucks out there, it's gonna take us longer, and we're gonna have more employees to drive them
you're
to
probably,
accommodate the same service that we have now.
you're probably a rehash of the fleet and probably what, about a 30% increase in your drivers?
Well, you'd almost.
try to go with
You'd have
that?
to double them.
You'd almost double 'em.
You'd double them. Because the trucks, what they haul and able to do and what we're capable of doing with chip seal, with snow, with road conversions, would take us twice as long. Because the small trucks that they can haul 9-ton. The trucks we use now, we can haul 18-ton. So you're essentially doubling everything if you lose the CDL driver.
So,
Do you guys require them to have a CDL?
Yes.
To hire them?
So
You
far.
guys don't train them at all once you hire them?
Well, I used to be in charge of the CDL training for Fort Wayne, and it was real simple until February 7th of last year when the FMSCA stepped in and made a criteria that has to be met, which includes a 3-week class. And then they increased the testing amount. So basically, it's about a $5,000 deal right now to get it done. They have left it open to where I can go back and get certified to be a trainer for the municipal system alone, us. But the cost of that would almost end up being more expensive than just sending them to a class. And I've had negotiations and discussions with other counties to where, can we get all together, get one certified employee, bring all these employees in, do it once or twice a year, so we can do it in a group, and it reduce the cost for every county.
Yeah. LTAP is looking at creating those sort of training programs, kind of as cooperatives between the different highway departments as a stopgap to deal with the training. Because every county is going through this, how do we train the new employees? You bring an high student in out of high school and you want to train them, now you're paying to train them, or you're taking your superintendent off of the work roles for 3 weeks because they've got to train one employee, and you're paying two to do one training. That's,
I've been doing CDL training for 23 years, and I did it for Fort Wayne, and I also started a business and did it privately. And come February 7th, they shut it all down.
Okay. So for the most part, your hirees are already carrying a CDL?
I've been lucky enough to grab some, yes.
Okay.
But as of now, with our open position, I have nobody out there in mind looking. My next step is to advertise.
And they have to be Class A, or can it be Class B for your trucks?
I can do Class B, but we also have Class A items where we only have 3 drivers with Class A's right now, so they're restricted to that vehicle.
So Sean, just getting back to a little bit about what Vicki said, I appreciate you showing the private sector on here. But even if we went to 2450, people would jump ship in a heartbeat to go to any of these other companies if that's what the dilemma is. Because they're still offering $30 to $40 an hour, and we still would be at 2450. So look at the private sector, I'm not sure that 2450 would even solve that problem for you. So I guess that's why when I was thinking about looking at who, if they can go to Huntington, make $1.50 more an hour or something, okay, I in the public realm, I get that. Also, who knows if we'll have a bad economy this year like everybody's predicting or not. One of the advantages on the public side is we don't lay people off. We don't. I mean, so there are some give and takes in there that with your
Absolutely.
staff to understand that, yeah, we may not be able to pay you the most, you may be able to find out there, but there's great job security, there is a pension, you do get health. I'm sure you've explained all of that. But it just, again, to Vicki's point, if we go up to 2450, is that even enough?
I believe it's a great start to not feed all of our employees to Huntington that is so close to us. And just to match them and them to be in the comfortability of the job they've had for years is enough to retain them. As far as
You lose one to Adams, then you gotta match Adams. You lose one to Allen, you gotta match Allen. I mean, it's a never-ending story. Would anything that you're asking for help the process of road conversions that we haven't done for several years?
we've absolutely done road conversions for several years. So I contest that vehemently.
When was the last one?
6 months ago. I mean, we just did Oblique Road and 800 East just this year.
And then we
There
also,
was 1 year we didn't do a road conversion, Scott.
we started on,
I'm sorry, but we have. And there's been a number of other roads that we've done, so.
Please give me an update on that.
Absolutely.
The list that's in the queue, and then the one that you've done recently, please, that'd be very helpful.
I'll send it to you.
Thank you, sir.
Absolutely.
we had started 700 north this year and also 200 west between 1,000 north and 1,100 north. And expectations are have them complete this spring.
Wonderful. Sorry to get off topic.
But to answer that question, yes, those employees would assist in that process as well. So,
So, the fund that this money comes out of, what kind of strain does this put on that disbursement? We're talking about tax money from gasoline, from user fees.
With the numbers that are in front of you, we would just need to complete that 67,000 on top of what we have in our budget. And that's with analyzing the amount of overtime that's been utilized and spent in the past. And if we get into any more overtime that is necessary, we can always record and ask FEMA for help to bring us in to offset that cost.
So this is an additional,
67,000.
an additional 67, okay.
And actually, that is reduced since we lost a 22-year retiree. You can reduce that by $2,200. Proposal.
The amount of employees that you have currently showing here, again, you've just lost one to retirement. Are you to the point where, especially truck drivers, are you to the point where you're short now for snow routes?
Yes, one short as of today.
Short. So that gentleman that just retired, he was drove truck then. So some of the other employees don't necessarily always drive truck, right?
Well, we don't own enough trucks for everybody to drive, so I have to
How
send
many
out.
total snow plow, or tandem axle trucks do we have?
Well, we have 9 that can sand, and we have a 14.
How many
that-
do you put a plow on and go on their route?
A 10.
So we have 10. We have 10 trucks that are obligated to go snow plow whenever we have a snow event or whatnot. So you have the 10 drivers currently with CDLs to run those 10 routes, or you don't, you're one short at this current time?
We run the tandems for the snow routes, but some of the tandems, they don't have salters or sanders. So the routes are intermingled right now because we also run 2 tractors and 2 graders. So after the tractors and graders go out and clear the snow, then sanders have to change their routes of what they plow and then go sand those areas, which,
Still 10 trucks though, right?
yeah. Well, we have more, but we have.
That's on the road, that run. So you have to have 10 employees then. So are you short one driver now for our normal
Yes,
snow
because,
event at this point in time, or?
yes, 4 of them usually, they drive tractors and graders.
Okay,
So,
as I look through here, I guess I'm just trying to figure out, are they all required, you need CDLs for all of these? You obviously do for 10 drivers, but as far as the other employees that are laborers or whatnot, do you use them just strictly for laborers, or they?
no, they're, everybody.
So when it doesn't snow and they're out there cutting limbs or whatever they're doing, they're truck drivers that are getting out and doing that work
Yes.
then, right?
Yes.
They have to be kind of multi-skilled in their roles because they've got to.
I mean, you
they may be
don't
called up to
plow
cover-
snow every day. So
Right.
in
Correct,
case-
but-
Yeah, they're hauling stuff.
Yes.
so, okay.
Even our elder grader operators or tractor operators that mow in the summer, they're out there throwing limbs and cutting trees
So in the
and
wintertime,
helping.
those guys are in a truck driving then, right, on a snow route?
Yeah, I don't just send trucks out to drive around when there's no snow in this
Sure.
type of season.
Sure.
And then they also,
But during the season, is it different,
Yes.
as the seasonal things go through, you've got that's the people you're gonna use then that fall over to there.
So I think what he's saying is, somebody who grades the roads, what do they do in the wintertime? Are they in a truck, or are they still doing a tractor operation to take care of snow?
well, we have 2 tractors that are grading roads. We have 2 graders that are grading roads, and then the leftover employees are in trucks grading roads. So when we go out to grade roads after a heavy rain or a heavy harvest season, every employee is out taking care of the gravel roads, either in a truck, tractor, or grader.
Using belly plows to
Yes.
grade, okay. So otherwise, when it comes to snow, are the grader operators also running the grader during a snowstorm? Or are
Yes.
they getting in a truck and
We don't,
plowing?
we don't have a truck for them, they're in the grader.
So we're short trucks then for those guys? Because obviously, a truck's gonna go a lot faster than a grader
Yes.
will to plow. So
I agree.
I'm trying to,
It doesn't make sense, does it?
yeah, you're not, this isn't.
I know.
That's
No.
why I'm kinda,
I think you're hitting on.
Yeah, you're
exactly
hitting on
part of the
what-
problem.
Yes.
yeah.
That's why as Sean just pointed out, it's why the plow routes overlap each other because they don't have the equipment to do everything in one pass. When one guy uses one piece of equipment, because that's all we have, someone else has to cover.
The CDL carriers, right?
Yes.
So they could get in a truck and go plow.
We just don't have it.
So it sounds like we're short equipment.
We are.
Versus what we're talking here.
Well, we're short that and equipment. We talked
To do
equipment last
snow
year.
plowing, 'cause snow plowing is, obviously, when it snows, when it does snow, some winters, we hardly have it, and other winters, we have a lot, and when it does, people want their roads plowed, obviously. So I'm just looking, are we utilizing people?
We're working on it. It's a long-term
So
plan.
we're kinda, yeah.
So Sean, to piggyback off his question about, okay, we're short equipment, we're looking at an annual approximately $67,000 expenditure
Over what we have in our budget.
over what we have
Yes.
currently. Over what you're spending currently, or when you say over,
It's the budgeted amount.
What was budgeted? Yeah,
over
which
the budgeted amount?
earlier.
Okay. As the highway super, imagine if we were already in place, if we were already at Huntington's wages, what's the opportunity cost of the 67,000? Like, what would you do with that if you didn't put it towards wages, if the wage situation wasn't a concern?
So many people can only do so much work with the equipment that they have. So it's a balance between getting the proper equipment to take care of it, which I'm in process of with the allotted amount of budget. We saved on, with the fuel prices skyrocketing this year, we saved on fuel because I was nailing on fuel. We're using as least amount of fuel as possible as for the work that we're doing. Nobody better have a truck idling. We're taking care of that. We handed back $726,000 out of our entire budget this year. Well, we were short, our chip spreader started giving us issues, so we needed that replaced, which thank you for all replacing that. I honestly, it's the greatest thing. It kept us from having a major issue here. But every day I'm trying to find ways to save money in that budget and give as much back as I can. And I feel that this year was the first full year I had control of the budget. I thought it was pretty good to hand that much back. I don't know how much was handed back in previous years, but I still think that there's places in there that we can still cut. And it seems pretty easy if we have the proper equipment, the proper employees. If we get new employees, then it's not gonna be so easy to cut because they're gonna be training. You're gonna have a waste in training with time and materials. So we're just looking forward in the future and leaning into keeping this a viable department, not to just do bare minimum and let it go away. And that's what I see is we're a couple decades behind the current way of our day today.
Well, Sean,
It's
why don't
2023.
you point out as well for Brandon, just the difference in the equipment costs that you're seeing right now. I think that $67,000 doesn't even cover the cost increase in the tandem axle in the last 18 months.
And I mean,
This year, a tandem axle is $250,000 dressed and ready to go. In the past, they were under $200,000.
and I guess maybe to Steve, what is the opportunity cost for the county? I mean, we have a budget of 1.248 million for the highway department, or at least for salaries, if I'm reading this correctly.
What's your question to me?
Well, am I reading this correctly? Is that the budget for salaries?
The 1.24
Or
is
what's-
budgeted for salary, wages.
Yeah.
I'm assuming.
Yeah.
And that 67, I mean, that doesn't go anywhere other than the highway department. And again, that's a question.
Correct, it's not out of general.
Right, it's not general.
It's not on
That's
any
out of
other
their
fund,
own
it's just
budget.
that's their own budget,
That's
and
their own budget.
distribution, disbursement.
To me, it's a balance that Sean has to make between putting more money into employees or being able to buy that next tandem whenever.
And
'cause it
that's
sounds
really the
like he needs
question we're
those.
asking is, I mean, he's the super, he says, we need more money in employees. Our objection would seem to, like, well, what about equipment? Which he's also saying we need money for equipment.
You can have all the people in the world, if you don't have the equipment, it isn't gonna do, you know.
So he's
And
got-
I've
you
seen,
gotta-
I've seen the
Amount of trucks to
equipment,
get out there and do the job,
it's a
then
mixed
you're-
bag.
Right.
Yeah.
You can look at devil's advocate, if we don't have the people to put in those equipment, but we got the equipment, we have the same issue. Yeah, we have to balance.
It's a delicate balancing act.
Yes.
But you gotta look at the utilization of where you're at, though, is, to me, are we utilizing things correctly? That's the question I have. If you got a grader guy that can go in a snowstorm and jump in a truck and go plow, that makes a lot more sense than running a grader that day, because your grader, unless you
Right,
got
but
a
he
hard
doesn't
pass.
have, he doesn't have that extra truck right now to do it.
Yeah, then that's
So
the thing, we
that's
don't have a
it.
truck for it, so I just assumed we had a truck for it, so.
No, I
don't think
have
he has
5
extras.
trucks that need to go away, that have never been taken out of the fleet. I have one truck that the mechanics were constantly telling me, you can't use that truck, can't use that truck. If it rains, if anything happens, I'm like, why can't we use that truck? We've had it out, they've worked on it, it's been there several years, so now this truck stays parked unless it's completely dry. And within my first couple of weeks there, we use that truck on a dry day. Well, the next thing that happens to the driver, the bed starts going up and it took out a power line. Because that's the type of equipment that we have at the department to this day. We only have, I could give you the list of the equipment, but we only have, this is just an estimate, 5 trucks less than 5 years old. The rest of them are old. And also years ago, the municipalities for salt trucks started going away from the split rail frame rails, and they went to a solid because salt gets in there, splits the frame rails, and damages the truck, and you're done. I have a lot of trucks that are split rail, and the salt's just gonna eat them away. Today, we're working on a conveyor that has been eaten away because it was a steel body, steel conveyor, and that truck is a 2012. And we're doing everything we can to patch it back together to keep it going. That's what we continue to do. And my plan is this year is we have in the money in the budget to go with 2 new tandems this year. That's what we have. That's our focus and our goal this year is to start getting these tandems put in place, or my focus.
Right.
But they need to start rolling over, and it's probably gonna be the next couple of years, is we need tandems. We have old ones that need to go, and we got,
And the commissioners normally make that decision, am I correct on that? You take that, or bring that
Yes.
to them, and then they make that.
Right.
As far as the purchasing, we just have to budget it, which is why the equipment budget has gone up as much as it has. I think there's been,
not near as much as inflation, though.
well, no, we've added big numbers to that. It's been $100,000 increases just in the equipment budget line item over the last 2 and 3 years, trying to chase that. But as with anything, just as with the salary discussion, it's an arms race, and unfortunately, we've got to fight it. And so we're gonna have to try to find ways to keep the equipment up, and put the money aside to do that. And that's part of why we're here.
Help us understand how you said, when you made the comment, you're giving back this money.
It's money we did not spend out of the allotted budget for 2022.
Why didn't we buy another truck? If we have money to.
It was in the
to
wrong
do it?
line item. And we needed a chipper because it completely failed.
Right, we just got that.
That's why we did
That's-
exactly
That's
that.
on the way.
Yes.
Yep.
So after that, how much are we talking?
Super?
Yeah, for 726 minus 400, or 398.
But that's money that is, I don't know who you're giving it back to, but
Goes back into the
general-
MVH, goes back to the MVH highway fund.
Highway department, non-general.
Yeah.
We've had the increases over the past, what,
It's just not, it's
2 years?
but that
It's
means,
not
is there more for the next year then?
Yeah.
Okay, so
It's
then,
Increase that in the buy.
okay, so you'll have more money for this next round to buy that next truck or 2 or whatever night, right?
That's the goal,
Okay,
yes.
okay, I was trying to understand that, how that works.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's not going to be appropriated because it's a carryover from last year that was not encumbered. However, that money's there and it's just in the highway line.
That does not come back to general, that stays in the highway.
That stays in the
department.
highway.
Yeah.
It's all MVH dollars as to be spent on eligible MVH fund items. So as Sean gets more experience working through the budget and gets that long-range kind of capital plan for equipment and equipment replacement plan, the problem, I think, and the fear is that we start laying that out, we're gonna realize how big that equipment line items needs to be to, one, stay ahead of what aging equipment we have, because we don't wanna put an overly aggressive schedule in place. We don't wanna say a 5-year, 10-year replacement schedule if we can't really achieve that. We wanna present something that makes sense.
And we're looking at lead times for a tandem axle truck is probably a year right now.
That's why we
And that's why
couldn't
that
do
might-
that with that too.
Now that January's hit, I already have the paperwork ready to be put in place to procure the 2 tandems to start with.
We might have them by the end of the year.
Yes, hopefully
But
we
they
have
may
them
be
by-
here for the time for the next snow in '24. So,
And definitely with the new highway garage that you've all helped with and put in place, that's gonna help us take care of our trucks better too. I've been looking at different chemicals to put on these trucks to not necessarily neutralize the salt, but clean the salt off of them so they don't have time to rot. Right now, our wash bay is out the back door with a pressure washer inside with the fumes going through a chimney. And these guys, I had them out there washing the trucks at 10 degrees because they need cleaned, they need taken care of. And they all understand it, and they were out there doing it. And having our indoors wash bays that we have, are gonna have, is gonna be a huge benefit.
I guess my recommendation was that we don't hamstring Sean as a supervisor and micromanage this operation for him. He's asking for some money. It's all up to us just to say, yes, that's appropriate still, and his budget's gotta come out of his budget. He knows he's gotta have money for trucks, so it's a balance for him. So it's up to us just to say, yeah, go ahead and manage your department the way you think it needs to be managed, and that's my opinion. Whether it's $24.50 an hour, I don't know if that's the right number, but that's what his recommendation is. I think we try to get close to that, if not, allow him to do that, because it's all coming out of the same bucket of money,
So are
essentially.
you making a motion, Steve, to go ahead and approve for the request from Sean for the increase in salaries?
I'll make that motion, yes.
Will that include the longevity or just the hourly wage?
I'm just going to talk about the hourly wage right now. I think that
think we start with
probably ought to
hourly
come
at
up
least.
it.
Proposal shows longevity and
Yeah.
hourly, so that's just.
I don't know which is,
Because I'll be very honest with you, the
Most important.
longevity side of it, I think we need to look at that. You
Right.
need to come to us with something similar to what the sheriff did with the matrix of what classifications or whatnot, and do that during budget, what you started to do last budget period, but it fell apart or.
yeah,
was
I agree
changed.
with that.
But if you need something to get you a couple bucks an hour to say, hey, guys, we can compete with the other counties or whatever on
Hopefully
an
it'll-
hourly rate, I'm more, going that direction than the longevity side.
Okay, so we have a motion from Steve to approve the hourly rate increase that Sean is proposing for his workers, but not the longevity at this point.
Correct.
We'll handle that at the budget time later this year.
I have a question related to
Yep.
his motion. I'd feel more comfortable knowing what type of increase 67 grand spread over these 18 employees is on a percentage basis, because we just gave them 7%, right? Or 10,
7.
Seven. So what percentage is this?
Action with Huntington's ended up being a 25%, I believe, so it's the 25 minus the 7% that was already given to us.
Percent.
So that's across the board, 18%? The person with 45 years gets 18%, and the person with 1 year gets 18%?
That's the way it's set up right now, yes.
Unless you were to proceed with the longevity was the only other option that we
Is
had.
that longevity in that 67,000 that you're talking?
Yes.
Okay, so we'd be eliminating, bring it back
Be
down to about
taking
30.
30, whatever that
5,000
number
out
is.
of that,
Yeah.
so we're talking an increase of what, 35?
Well, less.
Whatever,
You
yeah,
can-
Less than.
30,000
Yeah,
basically.
and then,
30-ish with the new guy retiring, or
If you
the,
bumped it up a couple bucks an hour, whatever that difference is between what's in the salary ordinance
yes,
already.
and also with the longevity, as you look, your biggest receivers for the longevity, the elder that will be close to retirement, so that will be falling off, and our new employees, so that longevity will be reducing every retiree.
But at this point with his motion, we're not even talking anything about.
I
longevity
thought
at
you were
this
bringing,
stage.
I thought you were bringing it up again.
We're not talking about 67 if we're not
No,
talking
we're
about
down to 30. If
longevity.
you just-
Okay,
just
We're talking
a couple
about
bucks an
35
hour,
then.
you're gonna
we're
be at
talking about
30-something.
35. And
To get him up to where he's competitive with Huntington County at
Well, that-
24.50. right?
That longevity is Huntington County as well,
But I'm saying though, that your hourly rate to get it up to Huntington.
the hourly rate, but the longevity,
24.50.
yeah, but the longevity is also a part of what Huntington pays
I
their
understand, but
employees, so
I'm
it's,
just talking the hourly. So you can say one guy walks in, says, hey, here's my hourly rate, here's their hourly rate. It's basically the same. It's.
but then Huntington says, yeah, I worked there 10 years and I
that's-
get another
that's
1,000.
another-
Yes.
Well, and hopefully then 7 or 8 months, we can tackle that one.
right.
But at least this gets you up to, if everybody agrees, it would get you up to par
So, yeah.
with what you're asking.
No, go ahead, Scott.
Steve's motion is to give an 18% raise.
No. No, they've already got the 7. We're not talking 18 above that, are we?
It's a total of,
He said it was
It's like-
25.
it's a
and
total
now
of-
$2, no, it's,
no, I'm sorry, I
That doesn't
misspoke.
sound right.
yeah.
I
no.
misspoke.
What is it, 2?
I don't think that sounds right.
That's what he said, but yeah, I don't.
Well, you're
I
just
did
going,
say that.
you're
What's it
going
be right
from
now
the
per hour?
23 numbers to the next number, so
Yeah.
it's not.
22, 29.
You're going from-
so what
It's
is
easy
this?
math.
22 to
Exactly.
25.
We can do the math.
Yeah,
This is
So
where they're at.
percentage
They wanna go this
increase.
year.
10%,
10%,
So it'll be
just under
10% more.
10%.
Just under 10% more.
yeah. I apologize.
Okay.
Under 10%? Yeah. Okay.
So that puts it.
You want the base, because some of your bases are different depending on their foreman or whatever, right?
Correct.
Yes.
So are you saying you want, it's 24.50 for drivers? But some of these,
Road foreman are 24.6.
27.13 it says for road foreman. Oh, that's your proposed, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's the proposed, not the current.
So you have varying rates, I'm assuming now.
Three.
You want
3
that-
varied rates right now.
So I didn't do the math here, but it looks like it's $2.31, maybe, no? 21 cents. You want that same dollar amount increase for road foreman. You see what I'm saying?
I think the
Mechanic.
percentage would be more effective instead of the dollar increase. Because what you see in front of you is Huntington County's, how they are
Yeah.
planned for their different job positions. We only have 3 different job positions.
So part of what you're seeing is assuming some breakdown as far as the job classifications, adding a little more differentiation in there. So if you're trying to just make it a little simpler, just for the sake of the motion, then you could do bringing the base rate up and then matching that percentage to the other positions as they are. And then if we want to come back at the budget time next year with kind of more of a matrix structure, then we can come back with those job descriptions as you've got shown in the proposal.
Yes, the
You don't have to do a salary ordinance to imagine, yes.
Yeah.
So she'll have to amend the salary ordinance, I guess that's where I'm
So,
at.
yep, correct.
We just want to make sure that, okay, if the tractor operator is gonna get 32 cents more an hour than the 24, you know.
We need to make sure that that's
You
written
need to have more of a
appropriately.
percent
Not-
increase, yeah.
That's completely understandable.
So you guys recently approved a 7% pay raise?
That was
That was
what the
approved in
budget
the
was
budget.
for.
That was for all
employees.
county employees.
Oh, okay.
That was all county employees.
Wasn't just highway.
Right.
Steve, what's your hesitation on going forward with the proposed longevity?
I don't have hesitation there. I think it, other than, I think it needs a little more study that we can do at budget time. And
In my opinion, the problem with the longevity is we need to consider and think through for all county employees, because this has been talked about for quite some time, and we've not done it for the courthouse employees, and we need to be careful and cautious how we want to handle all that.
Sean, was that, you mentioned the number 10%. Was that what you,
If we do the separations like we proposed in the budget time, then it will be variant of 10%. 10% would be the low, and if you up the tractor operator above the truck driver, and then the grader operator above the tractor operator, then they may, I'd have to redo the math, looking at it that way, but it would jump up a different percentage for them.
Did you already do that with your proposed rate here?
Well, it's different. This proposed rate is what Huntington County is doing, and that's what I was proposing, but we have not done that. We have a classification such as if you read sign and safety, tractor operator, equipment operator, you can see that they're different from the driver operator. Ours are all the same now.
Yeah. The hourly rates they're shown do not include the longevity in there.
Yeah, I understand
Obviously.
that.
So
But I'm
they
just
are-
trying, I'm,
so-
to get,
include longevity, right?
Correct.
So if we went with just the proposed rate that is on your sheet here,
It would both, in the ordinance, it would create the job classifications that we presented last July, September.
It would separate their,
It would create the separation in the pay scale. It'd allow us to put some of the CDLAs into those higher paid positions as well.
to keep it simple,
Yeah.
would it make any sense that we go back to our salary ordinance here where you have the 3 classifications, right? And use that as our guide, because you didn't do that, right, in the proposed rate here?
that would make it simpler, yes.
To get us to where you can come back at budget time and get
Then
your
create-
ducks in a row.
right?
And get
squared
us
away.
to where we can understand something, and that would give you some helpful ammunition, no pun intended, sure. But to be able to help yourself out, to find some people and get some recruits.
Yes,
According to what Steve's, I'm not trying to change Steve's
I'm going to
motion.
rescind my motion since there's no second until we have a little bit more information. My recommendation is, just because I think we're close,
Code foreman.
you guys come back next meeting, and now that you've heard the motion, you've heard some comments from other councilmen, come back and get this thing dialed in to where you guys think it's appropriate, and then let's talk about a new set of numbers. And if I don't think the longevity is something the council has appetite for right now, but I think we do have appetite to help you out. So let's get this dialed in. I know you don't have to go get a whole bunch more numbers. You got to refine what you do have, make it an actual proposal to us, and then we can shoot that up or down. Does that sound fair?
Current and proposed,
Yes. Make it,
so that we can visualize what we're doing.
Yes.
Right at 10%.
This will allow us to do that. Now, the reason it failed at budget time is because I was trying to take the total percentage of what you were giving the entire department and every employee and split the percentages, so it would take money from one department to another department because these employees are paid out of different departments. That's why we failed at budget time. Those line items in the budget would have to be rearranged with numbers to allow that. So with this being, we'll be able to split and reappropriate where the money needs to go to offset these job classifications.
does that sound like a fair ask,
Yeah.
Mr. President?
I mean, I hate that you have to go another month, but things
I do-
just quite confusing.
I do too, Vicky.
So I'm rescinding that.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
I think we're open to making this happen. We're working with it.
You led it in a different direction, and I apologize for not being prepared on that direction, but that can be done.
Numbers pretty quick and probably come back to us with something and we can, because I think we're all on board doing something.
Yeah.
Well, and we don't want to confuse everybody, because I think one of the things that Sean wouldn't let me do is create 7 different options to throw at all 7 of you, and then each of you are looking at different ones that maybe you like, that are so close, but we don't really have a consensus among council what you want. Now we know which direction you want to go, this will be much easier.
Something that would be helpful for me as a new councilman, I do like to see some percentage increases. I like to understand what the total budget we're working with is. I mean, if we're talking about $1.2 million budget and change, and we're talking about $67,000, it's a pretty negligible amount when we're just talking about moving that money. I need some context to what you guys want to do.
And that's the exciting part about going through the budget cycle
And
this year too.
and I also want to say, I don't know that I'm saying the correct numbers either. So when I say 1.2, that's what I'm seeing in front of me, but might not be right. So
Sure.
give me some more context.
Absolutely.
All right. One other point I think that we need to look at, and again, I'm not trying to micromanage by any means, but I think hearing what your problems are with new employees coming in and whatnot, obviously, I think you're gonna have to spend a lot of time on recruitment. I think, it's in the private sector, it's everywhere. And again, you think you got the right person, and unfortunately, something better comes along for them, or different, or whatever, and it's just a constant.
No, I know.
Constant, and I know you're busy with all the other things, but it is something we're gonna have, I think you're gonna have to really work on.
It's exactly why Adams County's hired themselves an HR director, essentially to go through and do all of the new employee hires, onboarding, training, going through the benefits package, making sure that every new employee really understands what they have. We talk about all the things that the county employees have, but is it really for me or Sean to go through and sell the county packages that are put together?
So I think in the future, I know there's, good times, bad times, and that fluctuates your, your potential candidates, but still, it's gonna be something that you're gonna have to constantly be on board with.
I think they're always looking for people.
One that hit me was an 8-year employee that was a grader operator and good at it, and he left to drive a haul truck in a quarry for more money and better insurance. I know.
Yeah. Thanks, Sean. Nate, yeah, so we'll make sure you're on the agenda for the next meeting.
I think what we'll do is, we'll put together a draft of it, send it to you, Seth.
That'd be great.
And then we'll just discuss, make sure it's got everything that you wanted to see, then you can disseminate to everybody else
Okay.
on the council. All right.
That'd be great. Thank you, guys.
Thank you all.
All right.
Good evening.
Thank you.
All right, so under the other business, Lisa, I know you started the travel and reimbursement policy. If you want to get a little bit of background there, I know Sheriff, you deal with that as well when you're at conferences, and we all know money doesn't go quite as far as what it used to. And when was the last time that we had changed the travel reimbursement policy?
2018 for 2019.
So 3 pretty good years of inflation. If you want to Either one of you can speak up, so.
The current itemized meal allowance per day is $30 a day, and you can tip gratuity up to 15%. I did solicit other counties to see what they were doing, and I got 12 responses. One county does $25, and most don't have a limit on gratuity. They have an amount, and they just have to fall within that amount.
Is that a per diem or a per meal?
Day.
Per day.
Per day.
Per day.
Yeah, right.
So one county had $25, two had 26, one had 30, one had 32, one had 45, four had 50, one had a federal rate, which is currently $59, and one had 75. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it is, it's quite a range, but, like when we drive down to Indy and we have to be down there at 1, we eat lunch on the way, and then we have an evening meal. You can't hardly get lunch for less than 12.
Right.
Yeah, and just a correction, it's not just for me, all my employees that go to training fall under the same stuff. So I have deputies that go all over the state, mostly for different specialized trainings and whatnot, and, sometimes we don't get to dictate which hotel the training's in. Typically, we try to stay in the cheapest hotel within reason, but, a lot of conferences, a lot of trainings are put up in hotels depending on size, and you've all probably experienced this, the more expensive hotel you stay in, the less you get for free. And typically that comes with no breakfast or anything. And I personally know, just going to certain trainings and some of my employees, that you can blow over half of that just for a breakfast at the hotel. $30 doesn't go very far. We're not looking to have, fine dining and steak dinners and everything else, but, this is a requirement for a lot of people's jobs, and $30 doesn't cut it for 3 meals. I went to Hardee's the other day, and it cost me almost $12 for Italian meal. I mean, to go $10 a meal, it just, and I think before that it was only 26 prior to the 30 when I started 20 years ago, so it hasn't increased much, and it was that for quite a long time prior to this change, which only bumped it up to 30, so.
Good point. So Josh, what does the city do for reimbursement? Do you know?
You're talking per diem per day?
Yeah.
I don't know what it's paying, but, so, I wanna say it's like low 30s. I think like 32, I didn't go to the last day's conference, so. Did not pay for it, so. I'd have to text Collins.
My claims person makes it very easy to file
So-
the
So is there a
Yeah.
What's that?
It's big deal.
The CDL.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a $5,000 minimum on the training and everything. We've been fighting it for the last couple of years.
Are you hearing anything from legislature if they're gonna be able to step up and put this into?
Guys are advocating for it, but I haven't heard
I
any
just,
decision.
okay, just curious.
I would hope that municipalities, and this is.
For-
Have,
Yeah.
but it's, I mean, I see truck drivers from all over the world at our store, and it's troubling.
Yeah.
I think that's the main focus.
Yes.
Federal, right?
Yeah.
These guys can't back semis up, I don't know how they.
Yeah, I
do
know
it.
it. I know.
Yeah.
Might as well rip them out of truck.
Lisa, where does the meal stipend come from? What fund?
Everybody's budget.
We budget for it.
Everybody has a
Yeah,
budget
it's a
for
line
it.
item budget.
Okay.
So is there a request, Lisa, for an increase in the amount?
You sent the email.
I know
that-
$50 was thrown out there, plus gratuity, or 60 and no gratuity were the two options that I think that I saw out there. So is that one of those two requests?
You had presented 50 with it.
Yeah,
Plus gratuity, I
suggested,
think.
Yeah,
20% gratuity?
yeah, 50 with 20, and Beth said, or if you didn't want to do gratuity, just do 60.
I think gratuity is nice. We have always held the standard that they somehow, for one, they have to give itemized statements. Two, they have to, if they give gratuity over that, our employees have to pay it back. So it's, I mean, she gets dinged on it through an audit, if that's the case. So, so that's well known to our people, that if you tip over the allotted amount, it comes out of your pocket. So
So are you advocating to keep a separate amount for the gratuity?
I'm in line with Lisa, and what she's presenting as far as the $50 and the 20% gratuity
Cap.
cap.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's some conferences you go to and they will provide food. But
Yeah,
if they're
and
not
in that
providing
case, you
food,
don't need.
Yeah, you don't need.
You don't need to go out and spend $50, because
It
you might
even-
have a dinner that's
It even
provided.
says in here, if it's part of your registration and the meal's provided, then you can't get reimbursed to go out.
Sure. Now, on Bluffton's behalf, I think they cut them a check, and if they don't spend it, they keep it. Am I correct?
No, you have to submit receipts.
Well, you have to submit receipts, but you're cut the check in advance, correct?
No, I would put it on my card and then get paid back.
Or am I thinking clothing allowance?
The only thing I've traveled for was for like an AIM conference, so it doesn't happen. You guys travel way more than, than I would.
Sure.
So those are my experiences.
Yep.
Fort Wayne does? Yeah. A lot of businesses will do that, they'll just give me a lot of dollar amount per day. We don't operate that way, we turn it in for reimbursement, or,
But as soon as I get a receipt, if it's prepaid or something, then they'll pay it. I don't have to carry it.
Yeah, Jared?
Be careful, and you have an attorney in the room, he might be able to answer this. Be careful of going over the federal per diem rate, because then that can become a taxable fringe benefit.
Right. What would you say the federal was?
we're not proposing that.
59's federal.
That's 70-some bucks, right? Is that what you said? 59.
Gratuity.
Yeah, is there 59 with gratuity or without, or does it state
Is it total?
I think it was total,
total?
but I,
55 to 59, yeah, so it's 59 is current.
Yeah, and
What about-
there's tight restrictions on that, on what you spend it on, itemized receipts. You can't
Right.
spend it on alcohol. You
Right.
can't-
Yeah, it's
Right.
a good written policy for that.
Yes.
What about $15 per meal, so that would be $45 a day. I know that. you
Plus
might
gratuity.
spend- Yeah, I know that you might spend $7 at breakfast, but maybe you'll spend $20 at dinner, you know?
Well, the theory behind that, Vicki, is that your lunch you will likely eat out regardless. So that per diem isn't designed to cover your lunch. Historically, right? Because you're either gonna carry your lunch, and you could do that in a travel situation, or you're gonna eat out at work or in a travel situation. So that expense, you're gonna have either way. So it's more a breakfast and dinner reimbursement is what it was designed for. But I'm 30 years ago, I was operating at $30 a month, so I gotta believe $50 or $60 would be
Right.
more in line with the real world today.
Seth, are you ready for a motion?
Yes, if someone wants to make a motion if we're done with discussion, then by all means.
I would motion for 50 and 15% gratuity per day.
I'll second that motion.
If that doesn't go over the federal.
Which that wouldn't there. You said
We're not sure what the federal is.
50 and 15 should not go over.
It shouldn't, yeah, 15% wouldn't.
If
That'd put it
59
57 and a half and 59.
Yeah.
So it'd be 57 and a half, so we'd be under 59, so we would be good there. So we'd be under it.
Well, do we know for sure, it was a comment in the back of the room, right, what they thought the federal rate was? Or
Lisa said it was 59.
it is 59?
Yeah,
that's what it said when I Googled.
Okay.
yep.
We're not changing any other rules on our policy,
No.
just the number.
No, just the numbers.
So Brian's made a proposal for 50 plus a 15% gratuity. Do I have a second?
I already seconded it.
Sorry. Any other? All right, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Nope. Okay. He said no. Yep.
No, you are opposed?
You know you're not opposing it?
I said no when they asked if anybody was opposed.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I didn't hear you say aye.
Am I supposed to say
you-
no?
Aye.
Well, I was opposed to it. So I said no when they asked opposed.
So you're not in favor?
So
of
I'm
the
not in
motion?
favor.
Okay.
Okay, so it's 6-1.
Well, maybe we should clarify that, so when you say anyone
First
opposed,
meeting's getting brutal all of a
I need
sudden.
to say no.
No, you say aye.
I say aye
You say
at the,
aye.
okay.
Should we practice?
I'm getting Robert's Rule of Order here.
All right, so 6-1, that is passed. All right, so then the next one are the board appointments. So Just going through them real quick, Area Plan Commission, Vicky, you said you'd be okay being the alternate on that one. Scott, are you okay with Bluffton now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then Vicky, you're still good with the chamber?
Yes.
I'll remain on the 911 Advisory Board. Steve, your Economic Development.
Yes.
Todd, EMA Advisory and EMS Board. I know we both kind of,
I'm good if it's.
okay. We'll come back to the Peterborough one here in a minute. Mike asked to resign from the Regional Sewer District Board. Steve proposed, is it Richard Jackson?
We have a Richard Jackson that would like to be on that if we don't have no other interest.
Anyone else?
In favor of him, he is actually in one of the project service areas as a customer.
And he's been attending a lot of the meetings, Leon, hasn't he? So he'll be able to get up and running rather quickly.
Put him on the board, he won't ask so many questions.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes, they changed the rules. Yeah, because what it is, you had to be in.
It's,
End of
23.
2023, so the end of
That's
this
a
year.
4
yeah, so we'll go to the end of this year and then we can do it again
Yeah.
next year. Yeah. So just be finishing his term.
Okay.
Solid Waste, Vicky, you said you could do that one, is that correct?
Yes, unless someone else.
And then Wells County Trails, Vicky wants removed from that one.
Yes.
So Brandon,
I'll do it.
were you good with that? Okay. So we'll get to back up to the Property Tax Board of Appeals. Judy Affolter is currently the member that is currently our appointed person to that board. My recommendation, we did have a couple other applicants as well. My recommendation, we have two brand-new, just newly appointed members by the commissioners to that board. Neither one of them are licensed. So my recommendation, this is just an annual appointment only, is to go ahead and recommend that Judy still retain that, being the only licensed person on there and the only one of any kind of experience on that board at this time. Open for discussion.
Yeah, as far as discussion goes here, Nate has been on there a year now, so he does have a little bit of experience. He also has completed his level 1 assessor appraiser coursework. He just needs to take the test. He's got the testing date scheduled for February 10th. So he's on track. I know Blake Fiechter's been a Realtor for 14 years. He doesn't have experience on the Peterborough, but he does have experience in real estate. So I think there is some experience on the Peterborough currently. I want to speak to the situation with the current appointee. There was some public discomfort with a member of the board being an out-of-county resident. We do have 2 in-county residents who've applied. There is no issue in terms of partisanship on the board. Currently, one member of the Peterborough is a Republican, the other member is a Libertarian, so we wouldn't have to appoint a Democrat, which the current council appointee is. The Department of Local Government also cautions against appointing former assessors to the Peterborough, and the current appointee is a former assessor. And I'll also remind the council of what happened last year in the spring. I think reappointing this appointee exposes the county to liability. A mistake was made last year. It was a pretty serious mistake. It opened up the county. Thankfully, one of the Peterborough members, the county commissioners, county attorney Colin, were able to get that situation under control. But there were lawsuit discussions did not come to fruition. I can't support reappointment of the current council appointee in light of all that. But yeah.
Any other comments or thoughts?
I did actually have a conversation with the county assessor. She feels, I'm just gonna say, she feels that the experience level of the ones that's currently on there isn't enough to really go through what they need to go through. There's different situations that occur, and she feels like someone with the level 3 experience that Judy has would be very beneficial. I understand Brandon's point, and I appreciate that. But she is very concerned about that, and doesn't know if, with no one else having any certification at this time, she's really concerned with that.
Okay. Any other comments from council?
How will these be approved? Is it all in one or a line
I was gonna
item?
ask the same question.
Normally, we would do them all as one, but we can break them up. What I'll do is, I'll do the Peterborough one as a separate one, and I'll do all the other ones together. Does that make, is that,
That makes sense.
all right? So we'll first start off with, do I have a motion to approve the appointees that we just listed for Area Plan Commission, Bluffton Now, Chamber of Commerce, E911 Advisory Board, Economic Development, EMA Advisory Board, EMS Board, Regional Sewer District, Solid Waste District, and Wells County Trails? Do I have a motion to approve those appointees?
Make that motion.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, and then we'll do so on the Property Tax Board of Appeals, do I have a motion to approve Judy Affolter as our representative for that board?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
Steve, Brian, and... Okay, thank you.
And something to, remember with that, that's a yearly, annual position, so I guess it could always
So
be
the-
addressed next year.
You're right, Todd. So the encouragement here is that those that did express interest, start working on some certifications, start to, because I do think we all would agree that we want somebody within this county to serve on that board that is certified.
Yeah.
I got your answer. We're $40 a day, 10 for breakfast, 10 for lunch, and 20 for dinner. In state.
Plus tip.
That's with gratuity.
Oh, that's with gratuity.
With gratuity.
You guys are cheap.
Too late.
Too late.
What's going to happen is your next city council meeting, there's going to be a proposal to increase that. Yeah, that'll be in the paper.
Hey, we got a lot.
Okay, and then the next item is the 2023 solid waste salary contract. Is there anything that,
It lists, the controller pay, supervisor pay, and board pay. And,
you already,
We've all
you've already
approved
approved.
the budget.
Yep,
process.
Yep, and
all right, so do I have a motion to approve the 2023 solid waste salary contract?
So moved. Oh,
A second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, it is passed. Then we have to do the annual certification of council contract disclosure policy.
yes, it's like your nepotism contract. If you know you're gonna go into a county contract with a relative, you have to disclose that information.
That's something we'll all just sign before we all leave. Okay? And the encumbrance summary, I know you sent that out, Lisa.
Yes. The general fund had $48,389.20 in encumbrance. Economic development, $15,000. Public safety, $10,532.71. Flat book maintenance, $11,085.50. And adult probation, $1,051.68. And they submit bills that have been incurred
Okay.
but not yet paid. And with these encumbrances, the general fund will have a total unexpended for 2022 that'll roll into our operating balance of $591,624.03.
Good. Okay, thank you, Lisa. And then transfer funds within account sequence.
And we are doing that this year. I just have to note it in the minutes every year if you would like to do it again. It allows the auditor's office to do transfers without bringing them to you, although they are sent to
Under a
you.
certain amount, right?
Yeah, within department sequence, like the 1,000 series. If he wanted to transfer from chief deputy up to sheriff, he can within that sequence, just by submitting paperwork into my account. 1,000 series too, as long as it's in account sequence.
We need to vote on that, correct? So do I have a motion to go ahead and approve for 2023 the transfer of funds within account sequence?
I'll make that motion to approve that, the way we've been handling it.
I'll second.
Second? Okay, so Steve and then Vicky. All right, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right. Anything else for the greater good? All right, the meeting's adjourned. I need a motion to adjourn the meeting, sorry. Actually, we don't really need a motion to adjourn it. I'll do it for fun then, okay. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay.
Hey.
I do want to say thank you so much for getting that.
You can't leave.
Yeah.
I mean, this